expectations with reality, you will never be disappointed. To my family, fans, and friends, I'm a Hall of Famer. Hashtag flawed process. Hall of Fame is a total joke. Honestly, doesn't mean anything to me to get in beyond this point. Shannon, did T.O. deserve to make the Hall of Fame?
I'm so disappointed. He absolutely deserved to be into the Hall of Fame. He has the second most receiving yards in the 97-year history of the NFL. He has the third most receiving touchdowns in the 97-year history of the NFL. He's a top 10 receiver as far as receptions. Joy, the problem that I have is that T.O. is a 5-time first-team All-Pro. Now, when they vote for, a lot of these voters that's voting for the Hall of Fame, they're also voters for the Pro Bowl. When you vote for the All-Pro team, it's not AFC, it's not NFC. You combine the two conferences. Those voters said 5 times that Terrell Owens is one of the 2 best receivers in all of football. They knew his history then, but they still said he's one of the 2 best receivers in football. Now, when it comes time for them to give him his ultimate validation, because there's nothing else he can do, they turn him down because of on-field issues. They turn him down because he didn't get along with teammates or he didn't get along with coaches. I look at it like this: if I'm a college, if I get all A's and it comes time after my 4 years for me to get my degree, don't tell me I was disrespectful to the teachers. Don't tell me I was disrespectful to my classmates. Give me my degree because I've earned it. Give this man his validation.
Time out. You're not on a team when you're in class at school. It's just you against the world, right?
And these numbers, they don't take the team, they take T.O. numbers. Norm Van Brocklin's jersey, the jersey that he threw for 554 yards, which is still the record, is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't think if he got a speeding ticket or a parking citation, that's in there. So what are we talking about? We're talking about stats. Skip, if it was for sainthood, I would agree. But let me tell you something interesting. I happen to, the Pro Football Hall of Famers that went to historically black university and colleges are getting honored today before the game. We also got honored last night at the Honors Award.
And Thursday night.
Skip, I was on the bus. I was the youngest guy on the bus. A lot of the guys that were riding back on the bus, they were done playing football when T.O. was even born. Every last one of them said, this is a shame. Said this man deserved. He said, and I'm not getting it from second party. I'm the youngest. I'm about to be 49. A lot of these guys are in their late 50s, 60s, and some are in their late 70s. They said, now it's gotten personal. There's no way you can convince any of those guys that were on that bus that Terrell Owens, and this is not a knock about anybody that went in, because all those guys that went in deserved to get in. But for them, first of all, T.O. should have been a first ballot. The guy that was presenting his case, he should have stood up and said he had the second most receiving yards, third most touchdowns, 5th most catches, and sit down and not have to say anything, like the guy did for Dan Marino, like the guy did for Emmitt Smith and John Elway. Skip, take all the personal stuff aside. In my estimation, I have a gold jacket. I have 3 of these. I know a Hall of Famer when I see him. Terrell Owens was the second greatest receiver to ever put on cleats and play in the National Football League.
I appreciate your sentiment. I love this man across from me. I respect you as much as I respect anybody in that Hall of Fame, and you know that. But I'm disappointed in your stance on this because I cannot comprehend it. And I would suggest to you, and I was at the Fritz Pollard banquet the other night on Thursday night that you got honored at, and I saw a lot of those historic black college football players. And I talked to them, not about Terrell, but I don't think they know the backstory here. They're just looking at the numbers from a distance. And I'm here to tell you that the process is not flawed, as Terrell says. This is nothing personal. This is about what he did in the locker room and in the huddle and on the football field. to not one or two or three teams. All three were teams with Super Bowl potential that he wrecked. And I was there for the first one, which was in San Francisco. And to me, what Terrell continues to do via Twitter and social media is exactly the kind of behavior that hurt him when he was a player. It's always about, my resume is fine, it's your fault. You've made it personal. He's always pointing fingers because, trust me on this, Terrell always led the league in drop passes, which he did many times, in blame deflecting, and in finger pointing. And he's doing it again now with the Hall of Fame. And it might continue to damage his chances to get into the Hall of Fame because it's not going to sit well with those voters. And maybe that could become personal, but this has not been personal.
Skip, I've talked to T.O. on several occasions, and I talked to him last year, and I said, T.O., I believe, it is my estimation, that you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. But if you don't get in, don't lash out. And I said, because if you lash out, the guys and the women and men that you're lashing out at, guess what they do? They vote again next year. And they vote again the following year. So if you do this, this is going to hurt you. Skip, let me show you something. San Francisco 49ers, in the 8 years that Terrell Lawrence was on that roster, they were 73-48. In the 8 years that he was gone, they were 52-76. The Dallas Cowboys, in 1 year in Philly, they were 17-4 with T.O. on the roster. The year he left, they were 12-13.
Yeah, because he left them for dead, all three of those teams. He wrecked the locker room, tore it apart.
Okay, and the Dallas Cowboys, 3 years with Terrell Lawrence, 31-16. The 3 years after he left, 25-23.
Yeah. All right.
Now, he wrecked the locker room, he tore them apart, but he made them a damn better football team.
He did not. He hurt their chances more than he helped the chances.
Have you seen the Dallas Cowboys play since he left?
Okay.
What have they done?
Well, they did. They won 11 in a row last year, so I guess they somehow survived with that. Back to business. This is what I know. I was there covering the team in San Francisco. I was early on a proponent in public of Terrell Owens, and player after player pulled me aside in the locker room and said, you have no idea how he's tearing apart our football team. Then he subsequently went after his head coach, Steve Mariucci, that he threw a game. He threw a game, and then he said Steve was trying to keep him down from becoming a bigger star. Then he went after his quarterback, who had made 3 straight Pro Bowls and attacked him publicly and campaigned for the backup Tim Rattay, some 6th-round draft pick, to replace Jeff Garcia. And it was incident after incident in which he went after Greg Knapp, the coordinator on the field. Then he goes to Philly with his soulmate, Donovan McNabb, turned on him, ripped him publicly, and then he turned on the coach who wanted him at Philly, Andy Reid. And then he went after Brad Childress, and they had a big clash. And then he had a clash in the locker room that led to a near fight with Hugh Douglas, a friend of mine from my days back at the other network. And then they sent him home. They suspended him, and then they cut him for the rest of the season without pay for 7 games because he was wrecking the football team. Bill Parcells, Hall of Fame coach, said, I don't want him in Dallas. Jerry said, I need him for box office because we're struggling at the gate. We want bigger TV numbers. And what happened? He immediately turned to Terrell on Bill Parcells. Then he had a big incident with the receivers coach, Todd Haley, which led to a near fight with the team leader, Jason Witten, before a practice. And Parcells didn't want him on the football team. And I've talked all this through with Terrell 3 times on national TV. So this is not hypocritical on my part. It's not 20/20 hindsight. I'm not Johnny-come-lately. I said the day he retired, I'm sorry. The numbers say Hall of Fame, but the behavior that hurt those teams say, no, he doesn't belong. I'm sorry.
The behavior is not in the bylaws. They don't say anything about it.
Well, it should be.
But you can't.
This is the most disruptive player in the history of the National Football League. I don't know anybody.